What is up, guys? So this is gonna be a haven't had a nice little yapping video in a minute. It's actually what I think the last one was the movement speed video, but that was more of like a crazy man screams into the void type thing rather than an actual, calm, composed speaking of the game in an objective manner. So I've played a lot of arenas here, as you guys can see this. I've played a ton of arenas, 200 arena games, or 202, I guess. I've played quite a bit of arenas, and I kind of want to speak about what I think should happen. And just to start off with, there will be no gameplay or anything on the screen, so feel free to throw this on alt tab, in your background, whatever, if you're watching on your phone or listening on your phone, anything. But there's not going to be anything on the screen that's relevant, really. So just to start off with, I want to speak about Arena, and after my experience, kind of talk about it and say what I think should happen, what could be better, that type of thing. And I think the biggest topic that a lot of people are going to want to get around, well, there's two of them. First being mobs in Arena. Second being some type of reward for playing / winning Arena. I think that's probably the next biggest one that people are looking forward to. And I think I'll go over mobs first. My take on it is I don't think there should be mobs in Arena. I know a lot of people are going to say, okay, maybe you have some mobs, but then you just have mini bosses. But even then, there are some maps in particular, like the Kobold map, and if you know what map I'm talking about when I say the Kobold map, the one on Ice Caves where there's the chest in the middle with the shielder, and there's the little dent where the water is, that everything, or that and everything. But then, on that map, there are kobolds literally everywhere. There's 30 of them, some bitches. There's so many. And that map right there kind of makes me feel like I just don't think there should be mobs. Because then you have certain classes that can completely ignore the mobs and run at you. And because they ignore it, but you have, let's say you're clearing them, you suffer for it. Think wizards chain lightning them, warlocks running around with them, blood bagging, dragging heals behind them. That type of thing. And it's just kind of it's disproportionately good. However, I will say that if they do remove all of the mobs, maybe something else needs to be put in place. Because let's say you load in, it's going to be is you're going to open your door and it's just going to be two teams just insta sprinting at each other. If for some reason, you're a little slow getting out of your spawn, you don't instantly run out, you're going to open a door and you're just going to have a team in your face. And that's obviously, just not going to be very fun. And there's a lot of things where this could be annoying. Let's say, for example, you spawned in their spawn, the game before, and a ranger laid down 5 traps in front of the door. So you have to dismantle all of them before you walk out. Because that's genuinely something I've seen people do. In one of my games, I spawned in their spawn, took a step forward after the game started, and I stepped in a trap. Because traps, if you don't know, if you put one down, they will stay there wherever it was put down active until the next round. Or until somebody eventually steps in it. It won't be removed from the round. Which is something else you could say. Should you reset the game to a base state in between rounds? Because, on Foursquare module, for example, if you start all of the greats, if you lift them up, they say lift it up. That type of thing. And, I don't particularly care that much about that, but I do think, there are some things that maybe need to be changed regarding that aspect. And if you do get stuck in your spawn, imagine you do that because you're stuck there, trying to disarm the traps, and you have a team of a wizard run at you and start magic locking you in your spawn because you physically could not get out of your spawn fast enough. That would obviously not be very fun. And I know people are gonna be like, oh, what are the odds that happens? I'm sure you guys know that this game has a lot of very toxic players that would absolutely queue up just to do that. For example, right now there's a bug in Arena where rogues can pickpocket you because, druids, for example, bringing in 2 different kits, bringing in an agi kit for Panther or a bear kit, depending, or strength kit to play bear, depending on what the other comp is. And they swap between them depending. And rogues, if they can queue an Arena, if they pickpocket something, let's say they pickpocket a chest piece out of your inventory, even if, they die and they lose, you won't get that chest piece back. So, let's say, you're a druid and they pickpocket, your gloves, and then you win 3-0. That doesn't matter because, they don't get your gloves, but you don't get them back either. They just kind of get deleted into the void. And for obvious reasons, that's not very fun and not very interactive. And there are going to be a lot of people that are queuing up just to do this, just because they want to grief people. And that's exactly how things would go. So, moving back to the thing of mobs, is I think if you want to remove all the mobs, maybe you need some sort of, waiting period or something in between games where, okay, you both walk out, you walk out of spawn Or you can like you can walk around in your spawn, you can buff up, you can you can do whatever you want, and then it starts, and then you can open. Or like there's like a barrier in the middle of the map that isn't removed until 30 seconds has passed, so you're not just locked into your spawn, unable to move, or something like that. I'm really not sure on that, but I do think if mobs are removed, or obviously, like there's another option is instead of it being just the 1x1 map, have it a 2x2. If you guys know, if you saw like the leaks and everything for the maps, originally it was shown as a 2x2 map, so there'd be 4 modules total that you would fight on instead of just one. And then I think that has its own problems. One of them being the zone. If you get like a bad zone, for example, then you have to push into their module while they kind of just AFK there. And even if, there are 2 doors and, you can run around, that's still kind of a pain in the ass. Like, think, people trapping up stuff, people just, like, playing earthquakes, all of this. Like, you don't want to lose a round just because the zone spot went on their side, right? Like, that just wouldn't be very fun. Then you have, so the counterpoint to this is what you do is instead of having, the 2x2 module, you have something more of like reminiscent of the 3x3 in Inferno or Ice Abyss, where you could still do 4 modules, but instead of it being 4 stacked like a box, you do 4 in a cross, or technically 5 in a cross pattern, where you have one at the top, one at the bottom, one on the left, one on the right, and then in the middle you have like a center arena. Think like like I said, the boss room in Arena or the boss room in the Ice Abyss. So then you walk out of your spawn and you go into the arena and then you fight there, which would be a great way to reintroduce Coliseum, which has just it's been gone from the game. It's vanished. Where'd that go? We don't know. Everybody assumed Coliseum would be one of the arena maps, but it hasn't been. So that would be a great way to bring that back. And I can't imagine it'd be very hard for them to add the modules into it. Like, with how they've done it now, all you have to do is connect it with one door. Like how the spawn rooms are now, connected to random modules. You just have some random door connecting them. I mean, if it's that hard, then it sucks, I guess. But, it's like, let me get a drink of water. I'm talking a lot. It's nice water. Anyways, moving on. But I think that's probably the best way to do it. Because, like I said, if you do remove all the mobs, you are going to have the problem of people just rushing as fast as possible to the other person's spawn, and if you don't get out in time, you're gonna be screwed over. And I don't think that's very fun, because you could definitely make the argument of like, why are you AFKing in your spawn? And I mean that's fair, but I don't think the meta of I walk out and I run at your spawn as fast as possible is ideal. I mean, I enjoy a little bit more of a slower gameplay, and then so some people would be like, okay, but that makes them like, you should enjoy mobs, but that's not really the case, because there are a lot of times where you walk out and, they might clear the first immediate mob and they just sprint at you. One thing I would say, though, absolutely, regarding whether, you support mobsing in the game or not, they absolutely have to remove mini-bosses or sub-bosses, whatever you're going to call them. Because sub-bosses are the biggest, like, grief just in the game, period. Because you have things like the Ice Caves map and the Inferno map. Those are the 2 big ones. Where you walk out on the Ice Caves map, and it's the Yeti Shielder module. Or, I think it's the Shielder. I don't think it's going to be a Berserker. But there's a spawn where you literally walk out, and you cannot avoid aggroing at least one of them. Like, and even usually it's both. And the Yeti, okay, you can lock in your spawn if you want to. The Shielder, you have no way of dealing with him that isn't killing him somewhere outside, because if you don't know, he can't walk in the door, he gets blocked, he's too big. He cannot walk in, he gets completely, stuck, and you have to deal with that. And if you have like a bard and really good gear, it's pretty fast, but it's still something you should deal with that gives the enemy team an advantage over you. Then on the Inferno map, the exact same thing. The Inferno map's honestly even worse, because if you get that one corner spawn that is on the right of the Centaur, I'm talking about the map that has the chest in the middle, the Wraith on the left that you can pull the lever to pull the stairs down and go up. That top right corner spawn, you step out, you have a Centaur immediately on your right, and you have a Berserker right there in front of you. And you have no way to avoid at least pulling the Centaur. And once again, yes, you can lock them in your spawn. However, that map is a lot more open. So let's say, you're trying to lock them in your spawn. Obviously, your teammates are going to be standing out. And the whole duration you're doing that, your teammates are kind of abandoned. So if they try to rush you, you don't really have much counterplay. Because, okay, I now have these things aggroed on me. I either have to kill them or I have to get rid of them. And it's very, very difficult to do so in a timely manner. So I would say no matter what they decide to do, they absolutely have to remove sub-bosses, 100%. Then, moving on from the argument of the mobs, leaderboards / reward. I know there's been a lot of talk of things people want, for, the rewards. People have mentioned, like, allow people to, like, ante up for arena, where, you queue up, you spend, like, oh, I bet, I queue up with 1,000 gold, they queue up with 1,000 gold, winner gets 2,000, that type of thing. Or, something along the lines of betting rather than just ante, like, directly betting, like, gold on it. I've heard people talk of things like, a separate arena queue where you can lose your gear. All of these things. Or, you just win, like, a set amount of gold. Like, oh, you win a game, get 100 gold. Something like that. And I think a couple of them are pretty interesting. I think that just to start up, to eliminate the ones I think are not very good, I think losing gear, a separate queue for, like, a full loot, I don't think that's good. I think that's a really bad idea. Because then it's just going to become... So the thing is, with Arena right now, with the way the mint system works, or if you don't know what mint it is, I just mean, like, gear that is, like, found by you. Like, it's like found by Toddfather. Like, being able to take in gear and not lose it because it's, found by you. The reason that system is in place, for one, is to make it so people don't only play Arena. Like, oh, I want to play Arena, I want to run good gear in Arena, I should go find it myself so I don't lose it. That's one reason. The other reason is to combat RMT. If you don't know what RMT is like, it's like real money trading, real money transactions. Basically, it means spending real money on in-game items. And that would absolutely happen if Arena had a system where, everybody lost all their loot, because then, like, what's the point of only bringing the stuff I found if I'm going to lose it if I die anyways? And that's where the issue with that would be. Is you're just going to run into people that are running the craziest, most gigabit Omega kits of all time. And if you're not doing the same thing, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Like, yes, you can make a lot of gold, you can buy a lot of kits, but something that I think a lot of people don't realize is whenever you see somebody, if you ever see somebody, like, look at a kit and, like, oh, that's an RMT kit, it's not just about, that, oh, this kit's, like, really expensive. It's that some of these pieces of gear you just never see on the market. For example, I died to a cleric earlier today. He was running double move speed, 2 dex, 2 vig, legendary lightfoots. He had a unique Chappelle with, like, max health, action speed, true magic damage. It's like, these pieces of gear are just not on the market. They don't. These things always get sold between, like, players, in, not to say, like, back alley transactions, but they're not getting sold just, like, directly through the marketplace in game. That just doesn't happen. Maybe you see one of these items in the trade chat every now and then, but, like, the chance you're sitting in there to buy these items, it's very unlikely. Not to mention, even if you do see them, like, those boots, those are easily 100k gold boots. Like, there is a point where it's like, yes, these items are so expensive, no one is just really spending their gold on that, right? It's not realistically happening. And if you have an arena where people can loot gear like that, RMT would absolutely run rampant, because they have a free way to run into really, really good gear over and over and over, and they can just get it, and if they don't use it, they can just sell it. That would absolutely make RMT a thing. So I definitely don't think that's worth it. I do think at some point maybe an anti-system or gambling directly on your matches would be cool. But then, it runs into the problem of people, like, throwing matches and stuff like that. It's kind of like an odd thing that would definitely need some work. So it brings us to the last thing, which they've said they're going to implement, is a leaderboard system. And I'm definitely excited for that. One thing, they haven't really mentioned anything about the leaderboard system other than that it's going to exist. And so I'm kind of torn between two things. I think you have two options. You have the leaderboard system, have share the rewards with the AP leaderboard, the one we currently have, this one right here. Have it share the rewards with this leaderboard, or you have its own set of unique PvP rewards, which like I said, I'm really not sure which one I'd prefer. I think if you make it share the rewards so they have the exact same ones, there are going to be a lot of people that just don't play the normal leaderboard system, which is fine. I don't think that's, like, a bad thing. If they don't want to play it, they shouldn't. They've always said that they want the AP leaderboards to be more PvE based, where the PvP one would be the arenas. And I think that's fine, like, oh, I don't really like PvEing, so I'm going to go PvP for my rank instead. But then I do also think that having a set of PvE leaderboards and PvP with unique rewards is pretty cool, because then you get rewarded differently for doing different things. It's like, oh, why should I be rewarded for killing all these players the exact same way I'm rewarded for picking up all this treasure? It's just different. And then it leads to things that are, a bit... it's just cool when you see, like, oh, like, that skin is, like, that's like a gold coin skin, it's a gold coin cloak or something like that from PvE farming or AP farming, whereas this is, like, I don't know, some, like, bloody cloak from, like, PvP farming. It's different things that I think would be cool. Then another problem with this, though, would be, I'm sure most of you guys know, Iron Mace has not exactly been timely with putting out rewards for ranked. And if they did that, then you would see another what? Because I mean, these are all like the same rewards. You'd see 1, 2, 3, 4 more like rewards they would have to put out, whether it be like a skin, campfire skin, torch skin, and whatever the demigod skin is. So I don't really think that's as realistic. Also, with that being said, I don't think we're getting arena anytime soon this wipe. I think that's probably going to be next wipe, or hopefully the next wipe, not the one after that. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up for the current issues. Then to finish this off, one thing I think arena absolutely should add is, if you guys have played Dungeonborn, obviously it's no secret I'm a Dungeonborn fan. I enjoyed the game quite a bit, arenas in particular. I think they should add a system like Dungeonborn where when you queue up, you have maybe a minute till the game starts, and there's a bunch of chests filled with random blue loot. That way, let's look at the player base, by the way. So you see this, the game has about 20,000 players. The number one problem with arena that I will say is that to enjoy arena, you have to play the game a lot, and that's going to sound really, really dumb. But the problem with that is if let's say you haven't played Dark and Darker in 3 months, you look, oh, they added arenas, that's really cool, I want to play. You get on the game, you can't play, because to play arenas, it requires you spending 10s, 20, 30, or 10s, 20, 30, 10s to 100 hours finding gear, doing all your quests, crafting all this gear to play arenas, and that's just not realistic for some players. If they quit the game and they're not playing, they're not going to come back and put 100 hours in to fight all this gear and do all their quests and craft all this gear just to play arenas. There's oh, I can't play it because I don't have all this gear. That sucks. So that's why I think they should definitely put in some sort of equalized kit level, maybe like just full random blue gear. That's fine in my opinion. And then I know a lot of people have complained, oh, I queue up and I just have teammates in like base kit, right? Because that's kind of annoying. Because like these people want to play arena, but they don't have gear to run an arena. And in my opinion, arena should be somewhere people go to just get free PvP experience. That's the best way. You go in, you just get to have fun fighting people. You don't really get to have to care about anything. If you want to bring your own gear in, that's fine. Let them. If you don't, you could just use the assorted blue gear there. And that would allow a lot of players to play arena and experience it. And it would bring back old players because then they could play it without they can play the arena without having to, go play the actual game. And I know that's something they said they didn't want, but it's better to have players coming back to play just arena than not coming back at all, in my opinion. And maybe when they go back and play arena, that'll make them want to play the normal game. Like, oh, I want to get my own gear. I want to run my own gear. I want to run my own like special kits. So I'm going to go play the normal game to find that gear. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but it absolutely could. And with that being said, that's going to wrap it up for me. Yeah, you guys feel free to leave your opinions and thoughts down below on anything I've said or anything I haven't said that you think maybe I missed, or anything else you'd like me to talk about. Because I definitely think it's interesting. I think arenas, I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot. I think it's really, really fun. However, I think it's pretty glaring that it does need a lot of work. I do enjoy that it's open only on the weekends. I think that's good. I don't think arena should be open 24/7. But other than that, like I said, yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. And thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.